He's doubling down. President Donald Trump is doubling down on his AI-generated Mexican hat dance videos. After Hakeem Jeffries went on pretty much every news station he could find. I mean, Hakeem Jeffries, this guy, man, not only can he not take a joke, but he is... The Democrats, they just lack backbone, huh? Or as our Latino friends would say, cojones. Hakeem Jeffries so angry, so mad that President Donald Trump posted that meme of him, the AI-generated meme of him with the Mexican hat and the mustache, the mustachio. He was so angry about that he went on every single news organization he could find and he railed about it. And of course, Donald Trump said, hey, you know what? if you liked it the first time, you're going to love it the second time.
It's a disgusting video, and we're going to continue to make clear bigotry will get you nowhere. We are fighting to protect the health care of the American people in the face of an unprecedented Republican assault.
Yeah, that's a lie, by the way. They're not fighting to protect the health care of American people. They're fighting to protect the health care of un-American people, of illegal people, hence the whole meme. I guess he's not understanding how the meme works. The meme is because he's working for illegal immigrants, not for legal citizens of the United States of America. But I digress. Look, the government shutdown. We'll get to all that here in just a minute. We've got a White House press briefing that we believe is going to begin here in just a second too. We've got a ton of. I mean, it's all about the shutdown. Who's to blame? Chuck Schumer, by the way. Chuck Schumer is pretending that his microphone doesn't work because CNN is calling this the Schumer shutdown, just like everybody else is.
Every Republican who's gone on TV the last 12 hours or so has called this the Schumer shutdown. What do you say about that name? Senator Schumer, can you hear me?
I can't hear.
Senator Schumer, can you hear me? I don't think Senator Schumer can hear me right now.
Senator Schumer hears you just fine. He hears everything you're saying. He hears everybody calling this the Schumer shutdown. He just doesn't like it. He just doesn't like that he's been backed into a corner because, again, he's spineless and he can't stand up to AOC and the rest of the left-wing lunatics in his party. He can hear you. He can hear everybody. He knows what's going on. He knows what people are saying. He knows that people are saying Chuck Schumer's weak and spineless and has no control and he's a horrible leader and that he's going to be primaried by AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. He knows what the rumblings in the hallway are. He knows that everybody says Chuck Schumer's days are numbered. He's done. AOC is going to be our senator. He's not going to be a leader of anything. He's going to go the way of the Biden, aka the dodo. And AOC, she's already claiming victory. She's claiming she's the head of the party. And right after the government shutdown, she invited Republicans, get this, to go negotiate with her.
And I saw some Republican members of Congress saying, oh, well, if we have this shutdown, it's because of AOC. Well, if that's the case, my office is open and you are free to walk in and negotiate with me directly.
Now, I don't understand why Republicans would go in and negotiate in the House of Representatives with AOC when the House of Representatives already passed the CR. I mean, it already cleared the House of Representatives. It cleared it like 10 days ago. I don't know why we would feel the need to go and talk to AOC. Also, isn't Hakeem Jeffries the minority leader? Or has AOC just basically ended his career as well? Not only does she disrespect Senator Chuck Schumer, she also disrespects the so-called head of her own party.
What I'm not going to do is tolerate 4 million uninsured Americans because Donald Trump decided one day that he wants to just make sure that kids are dying because they don't have access to insurance. That's what's not going to happen. And so if those senators think that we're having a shutdown because of me, they're free to enter my office and negotiate, because what we're not going to do is allow all of millions of people in this country to not be able to afford their insulin and their chemotherapy. So come strike a deal with me if that's what they really think is going on.
All right, we're not going to let all of millions of Americans lose their chemotherapy. What is she even talking about? I think they should go negotiate with her because she can barely speak, let alone negotiate. But look, we woke up this morning to a government shutdown, and I immediately got a phone call from Newsmax saying, hey, can you come and give us your thoughts? And I thought to myself, you know what? I think I can do that.
But first, of course, we are starting with the federal government shutting down. This after the Senate failed to pass a short-term spending bill. So for more on this, we are now joined by hosts of Mark Kaye, Save the Republic, Mark Kaye, and the managing editor of Newsbusters, Curtis Houck. Gentlemen, here we go. Good morning. Mark,
Morning.
I guess I'll start with your reaction. I can't say that any of us are shocked, surprised, any of those words at all right now.
No, yeah, and I woke up this morning and everything was exactly the way it was when I went to bed last night, except there were a lot more Democrats on my X feed talking about how horrible the Republicans are for shutting down the government because we wouldn't give them the trillions of dollars they wanted for illegal aliens to have healthcare. AOC, this is really amazing to me. She actually posted a video on her X and she asked Republicans to come to her office and negotiate directly with her, which just goes to show not even Democrats believe that Hakeem Jeffries is in charge of their party. This is weak leadership on the Democrat side. You're not going to go and negotiate with a congressperson on a bill Congress has already passed. And Chuck Schumer, nobody respects him either. It's going to be a very, very long day for the Democrats because Donald Trump's going to get to work, well, probably right about now. And if there's no reconciliation on the shutdown, he's just going to start shutting down government programs and firing federal employees. And that is exactly what's going to be happening. I don't know if they've already started it yet. I know that there's another vote. I know that they're having a press briefing. Like I said, we're going to be monitoring that press briefing here momentarily. But Donald Trump's plan, Russ Vogt's plan, the plan of the entire administration is to not let this shutdown go to waste. If the Democrats want to fund the government, fine. We'll just keep going along the way we've been doing. But if the Democrats don't want to fund the government, fine. What they're really doing is giving President Donald Trump unilateral power to make decisions about the size and scope of the federal government. He's giving Donald Trump and the administration, he's giving every secretary at every agency the discrimination or the discriminatory power to make decisions about staffing and funding all by their lonesome without any oversight. And that's something I can't imagine that the Democrats would want to happen, but that's something exactly that happened. And don't get me wrong, Donald Trump's not wanting the government to be shut down either. But he's saying since the Democrats have shut it down, we might as well take full advantage.
They are shutting it down. We're not shutting it down. We don't want it to shut down because we have the greatest period of time ever. I told you, we have $17 trillion being invested. So the last person that wants it shut down is us. Now, with that being said, we can do things during the shutdown that are irreversible, that are bad for them and irreversible by them, like cutting vast numbers of people out, cutting things that they like, cutting programs that they like. And you all know Russell Vought. He's become very popular recently because he can trim the budget to a level that you couldn't do any other way. So they're taking a risk by having a shutdown because of the shutdown, we can do things medically and other ways, including benefits. We can cut large numbers of people out. We don't want to do that, but we don't want fraud, waste, and abuse. And, we're cutting that. But they want to have illegal aliens come into our country and get massive health care at the cost to everybody else, and we don't have it. And that's I would say, the number one reason that they want to strike is to get illegal immigrants health care. And, Gavin Newsom wants that, too, in California, and it's destroying California. We can't have that. We're not going to let it happen.
And Donald Trump said, look, we don't want this shutdown to happen. We don't want the government to shut down. We want everybody to work hard. We want everybody to get their money. But if the Democrats are going to shut down the government, which the Democrats now have, then we're going to go. Russ Vought is going to be unchained. He's going to go through and he's going to look at the budget and he's going to do things that are irreversible. He's going to do things that the Democrats wish he hadn't done and that they won't be able to undo when they actually decide to go back to work. And that is something that, look, that's the choice you take. When you put the needs and desires of foreign-born aliens over the needs and desires of your American constituents, you're gonna run a risk of President Donald Trump doing what he wants to do. And he said, look, the programs that we cut, they're going to be what he called them Democrat programs.
Nothing is inevitable, but I would say it's probably likely because they want to give healthcare to illegal immigrants, which will destroy healthcare for everybody else in our country. And I didn't see them bend even a little bit when I said we can't do that.
Yeah, they didn't even bend a little bit. They just sat there. In fact, there's a whole, but like I said, there's a whole, but everybody's talking about that. I mean, this is the only thing that's really going on. But you've got You've got Mike Johnson talking about how he met with Chuck Schumer in the Oval Office and they put forward these demands and they were ridiculous. And Donald Trump told him that's not going to happen. That's a hard pass. And they were the ones that refused to negotiate. They were the ones that said, we're leaving. We're shutting down the government. We're not going to do a thing about it.
Chuck Schumer was in the Oval Office with me, 48 hours ago. We were there. The president, as a strong leader, he brought all of us in, all four leaders, Thune and Schumer and myself and Hakeem Jeffries. And the president said, make your case. What is it you want? And Chuck Schumer repeated in that meeting what he put on paper. The counter proposal that he filed, everyone can go read it for themselves, would add $1.5 trillion in new spending on a 7-week stopgap measure. We're not doing that. He wants to give health care to illegal aliens again. We're not doing that. He wanted to claw back $50 billion that our Republican Big Beautiful Bill put in to prop up rural hospitals. Now, people say, why would he do that? I thought he was for health care. Well, a lot of those rural hospitals, most of them are in red states. So I don't know. I don't know what his motivation is. But
we don't know what the motivation is, and we're never going to find out. You know why? Because his microphone apparently doesn't work.
Every Republican who's gone on TV the last 12 hours or so has called this the Schumer shutdown. What do you say about that name? Senator Schumer, can you hear me?
I can't hear.
Senator Schumer, can you hear me? I don't think Senator Schumer can hear me right now. Maybe the government shutdown included audio on Capitol Hill.
I gotta give it to him. Maybe the government shutdown included audio on Capitol. Maybe it was Chuck Schumer's brain that was funded. Chuck Schumer's brain is funded by the government. So maybe he got furloughed. Maybe Chuck Schumer's brain got furloughed. And that now he can't respond to those kinds of questions like, can you hear me? He was, however, on the floor of the Senate screaming and yelling about a poll that shows, well, let me just show you the poll. This is the poll that shows that 65% of Americans, by the way, blame the Democrats for the government shutdown. 65% of Americans say Democrats should not shut down the government. This is the New York Times Siena poll. Views on whether the Democrats should or should not shut down the government if their demands are not met. Now, again, this is the New York Times. This is them asking the question, should the Democrats shut down the government? Not the Republicans, because they knew, like everybody else did, that the Republicans voted to keep it open. When this poll went out, the Republicans in the House of Representatives had already said, we are going to vote to keep the government. They already passed the clean CR. They said, we're sending it to the Senate. So now even the New York Times knows that it's Democrats who are shutting it down. And 65% said no, they should not. 65% said no. 43% of Democrats said no to 47%. I mean, you're talking about an even split in the Democrat Party of people saying they should not, their own party turning on them and saying 43%, don't shut this government down. Well, they did it anyway. The polls came out. The Democrats looked at it and they said, screw you, our own party. We're going to shut it down anyway. And Schumer went out on the Senate floor to say, don't listen to this poll.
Now, I know the leader is going to show a poll that says that Democrats will be blamed for the shutdown. There are many more polls that show Republicans are blamed. The question in that poll is biased. Biased. In the New York Times, but it's biased. If you turn the... That's true. I don't always believe the New York Times. You can be sure of that. Neither do you. Okay.
I mean, look at what's happening. Look at what's happening in this world. We have AOC admitting that she is the leader of the Democrat Party, and if any Senate Republicans want to negotiate with her, her office is open. We have Chuck Schumer admitting that the New York Times is biased. The top-ranking Democrat in this country right now is Chuck Schumer. The top-ranking Democrat in this country right now is Chuck Schumer, and he just admitted on the floor of the Senate, it's in the congressional record, that the New York Times polling is biased.
Now, I know the leader is going to show a poll that says that Democrats will be blamed for the shutdown. There are many more polls that show Republicans are blamed. The question in that poll is biased. Biased. In the New York Times, but it's biased. If you turn the...
I I mean, look, only Donald Trump could do this. Only President Donald Trump could make this kind of thing happen. Only Donald Trump could have Chuck Schumer on the floor of the Senate saying the New York Times is biased. Incidentally, the New York Times is published in New York, the state that Chuck Schumer represents in Congress. The senator from New York has just admitted that the New York Times, put out by his constituents, is biased. Their polling is biased.
Biased. If you turn the New York Times, but it's biased. If you turn the...
I mean, that's historic. That's the most historic thing that I think that has happened. To me, that's one of the most historic things that has happened since this shutdown, talk began. That the senator from New York, the Democrat senator from New York, the leader of the Democrat Party, has just announced to the world that the New York Times polling cannot be trusted. I mean, that is the wildest thing. That's the wildest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. We are going to have, like I said, we are going to have Karoline Leavitt coming to the podium. As a matter of fact, right now,
everyone. Packed house here today, and I have a very special guest with us, the Vice President of the United States.
J.D. Vance
He'll deliver
is
some
there.
remarks and take some questions.
Nice.
First, I just want to share remarks of my own. Democrats in Congress have officially shut down the United States government.
Yeah.
House Republicans passed a nonpartisan, clean piece of legislation to extend current government funding until November 21st.
That is true.
But nearly every single Democrat senator voted against this bill.
Also true.
To be clear, this was the exact same bill that Democrats approved 6 short months ago in March, just adjusted for inflation. This is the same kind of clean funding bill that Democrats passed 13 separate times when they held the majority during Joe Biden's administration. So the American people woke up this morning and asked the obvious question: why is the government shut down right now? The answer is pure partisan politics being played by the Democrat Party.
PPP.
The Democrats shut down the government because President Trump and the Republicans will not force American taxpayers to pay for free health care for illegal aliens. America is $37 trillion in debt. We cannot afford to provide taxpayer-funded free health care to illegals who broke the law to enter our country. To put this all into perspective, the Democrats refused to keep the government open over health care to illegal aliens and now have jeopardized critical health care programs for American citizens instead. The Women, Infants, and Children program, community health center funding, Medicare treatment options, and other health programs are now all at risk because of the Democrats rejecting the Clean CR.
Yeah.
The most vulnerable in our country are being punished because the Democrats want to prioritize illegals over American citizens. And if Democrats actually cared about health care, they would applaud the actions taken by President Trump just yesterday in the Oval Office. He took a bold and massively popular action to improve our healthcare system. He announced the first agreement with a major pharmaceutical company, Pfizer, to lower drug costs for Americans. This is a historical achievement long sought by past Democrat presidents that only President Trump was able to get done. Also yesterday, while the Democrats were whining about health care for illegal aliens, President Trump signed a powerful executive order to supercharge American AI innovation and unlock cures for pediatric cancer patients in the United States.
Also true.
While President Trump took action to lower drug prices and improve the lives and the care of American children with cancer, again, Democrats are fighting to give health care benefits to illegal aliens.
Yeah.
The Trump administration is fully committed to lowering healthcare costs and advancing policies that will save American lives. But right now, we need to keep the government open and funded. And individuals and organizations across the political spectrum, across the country, agree with the Trump administration and Republicans. The labor union leader, the Teamsters, Sean O'Brien, sent a very blunt message to Democrats over their destructive antics. He said American workers are not bargaining chips. Senators need to stop screwing around and pass the House-passed clean short-term funding bill. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the world's largest business organization, called to immediately pass the Republican Clean CR, saying, quote, shutdowns are harmful to the economy, the American people, and our national security. And even Democrat Senators Cortez Masto and Fetterman acknowledged that their party is betraying the American people with this costly and chaotic Democrat shutdown.
Also,
enough
Angus
is
King
enough.
from Maine,
Democrats need to stop
who's an
sabotaging
independent,
our
but
country and holding the American
not
people
really.
hostage in the country. Democrats need to do their jobs. The American people want the government reopened, and this is proven in a New York Times poll showing that 2 in 3 Americans say the government should not be shut down by the Democrats, even if their absurd demands are not met.
No, that poll's
the president
biased.
and Republicans are working very
That
hard
poll's
to
biased.
reopen the federal government. The vice president here has been crucial in this effort. We encourage all Americans across the country, call your Democrat senators and encourage them to reopen the government. That's what President Trump and the vice president want to do. And with that, I will turn it over to our great vice president, J.D. Vance.
I don't have any Democrat senators
Thank
in
you,
Florida.
Caroline, and good
I
afternoon to
call?
everybody, and good afternoon to everybody who's watching at home.
Hi.
It's a tough act to follow, but let me just say a few things, then I'll take a few questions. Number one, Democrats say that they care a lot about lowering health care costs.
They do not.
And yet, when the president took historic action to work with the drug companies to lower prescription drug prices, the Democrats did nothing to help us. In fact, we would have loved to have the Democrats helping us, but they didn't. They talk about doing something. They don't actually do the hard work of making it happen.
That's correct.
What they have done instead is to shut down the government because we won't give billions of dollars to healthcare funding for illegal aliens. That is what has actually happened. To the American people who are watching, the reason your government is shut down at this very minute is because, despite the fact that the overwhelming majority of congressional Republicans and even a few moderate Democrats supported opening the government, the Chuck Schumer AOC wing of the Democratic Party shut down the government because they said to us, we will open the government, but only if you give billions of dollars of funding for health care for illegal aliens. That's a ridiculous proposition. Let me say two other quick things, and then again, I'll take some questions. Number one, we all understand that Democrats and Republicans have policy disagreements. The Democrats want to do things. Look, when Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries were in here a couple of days ago, they made some suggestions that the president was more than happy to say, yes, let's sit down and talk about how we can solve the healthcare crisis that we inherited from the Biden administration. But it's one thing to say that we should solve the healthcare crisis for Americans. It's another thing to say that we're going to shut down the government unless we give the Democrats every single thing that they want, which, as Caroline says, includes giving billions of dollars of taxpayer funding for health care for illegal migrants.
We're not doing
That's
that.
ridiculous. You don't have policy disagreements that serve as the basis for a government shutdown. Let's have the conversation about how to fix American health care, about how to make health care more accessible. As the president showed, he's more than willing to act on behalf of the American people for this very reason. What you don't do is say, unless you do exactly what we want to do as congressional Democrats, we're taking a hostage. And the hostage, it turns out, is critical, essential services that the American people need. Caroline talked about some of it. Let me talk about some more. Our troops are not getting paid starting today because of the Chuck Schumer wing of the Democratic Party. We have people who require food assistance, low-income Americans who require food assistance, who will not get it unless we reopen the government, thanks to Chuck Schumer and his wing of the Democratic Party. We have flood insurance as we start hurricane season in the southeastern part of our country. That flood insurance is going to disappear because of Chuck Schumer and the far left of the Democratic Party. We need to reopen the government. Let's fix America's problems. Let's work together to solve them. But let's reopen the government before we have our negotiation about health care policy. That's what the American people demand, and that's certainly what the President of the United States wants. Let me make one final point.
One final point.
I think a lot of Americans are asking themselves, why did this happen? Why did the Democrats shut down the government despite, as Caroline said, voting on the exact same piece of legislation 6 months ago? And there are a lot of different spins that we can put on it, a lot of different answers that we could give, all of them true. One answer I already gave is that they want to give health care benefits to illegal aliens. That is true. They gave us legislative text that would have undone us cutting off health care benefits for illegal aliens. That's one of the things that they asked for. But the reality here, and let's be honest about the politics, is that Chuck Schumer is terrified she's going to get a primary challenge from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Look at this.
The reason why the American people's government is shut down is because Chuck Schumer is listening to the far left radicals in his own party because he's terrified of a primary challenge.
Wow.
So I'd invite Chuck Schumer to join the moderate Democrats and 52 Senate Republicans, do the right thing, open up the people's government, and then let's fix health care policy for the American people.
Look at that.
Questions?
Wow. Yeah, you just
That's a
called
lot.
out Chuck Schumer.
Matt Boyle.
Okay. Mr. Vice President,
Matt
there's
Boyle.
two key Democrat lies I would like to get your take on and see if you can address. The first is that you're seeing a number of top Democrat leaders, from Kamala Harris and Chuck Schumer to Hakeem Jeffries, claim that it is a Republican shutdown caused by Trump. The second is that they're out there now claiming that they don't want to give health care to illegal aliens. Can you address both of those lies from the Democrat Party?
Yeah, so on the point that it's a Republican shutdown, look, it's obviously a Democratic shutdown. Just look at the vote totals in the House, look at the vote totals in the Senate, and look at the President of the United States' own action and conduct throughout this crisis. Nearly every single House Republican voted to open the government, Matt. Nearly every single Senate Republican voted to open the government last night, and even to their credit, a few moderate Democrats voted to open the government. That's not a Republican shutdown when nearly every single Senate Democrat votes to shut it down and every Republican voted to open it up. It's just obviously not true. Now, you can disagree about a number of things, but you can't disagree about the obvious fact that Republicans voted to open the government. The president stands ready to sign that opening of the government. We just need a few more Democrats to join us in that effort to open the government. Your final question about illegal alien benefits. Look, the text is very clear, and I even saw, I think it was George Stephanopoulos in an interview with Mike Johnson, did a fact check that was totally rooted in baseless claims. It was basically Democrat propaganda. If you look at the legislative text that they gave us, they tried to turn on two separate provisions that would give health care benefits to illegal aliens. Number one, if you're an American citizen, you've been to a hospital in the last few years, you probably noticed that wait times are especially large, and very often somebody who's there in the emergency room waiting is an illegal alien, very often a person who can't even speak English. Why do those people get health care benefits at hospitals paid for by American citizens? The answer is a decision made by the Biden administration that the Trump administration, working with congressional Republicans, undid. We turned off that money spigot to health care funding for illegal aliens. The Democrats, in their legislative text, want to turn it back on. That's one thing. The second thing, Matt, is we all know that there are various ways in which the Biden administration waved away illegal immigration status. They gave parolees, they gave asylum claims to people who weren't really claiming asylum. And when they waved the magic wand of amnesty, giving millions of people legal status even though they were in the country illegally, they also gave those people access to health care benefits. So what the Democrats are engaging in is a sleight of hand. They're saying, no. Those weren't illegal aliens who were getting health care benefits, even though everybody, knows they were in the country illegally. It's a lie told by the Democrats that they're not trying to give health care benefits to illegal aliens. It's a lie that is obviously
the Democrats
untrue.
lied?
If you just look at the text that they gave us.
What?
And all you have to do is understand that this is about who benefits. We think the American people's government ought to benefit American citizens. The Democrats are willing to shut it down to benefit illegal aliens. The contrast couldn't be more clear. Peter.
Thank you, Vice President Vance. The big holdup is, of course, that you guys say illegal immigrants are getting taxpayer-funded health care. Democrats say you're lying. That makes it feel like it could be a really long shutdown. Is this going to be a long shutdown?
I don't know. I can't predict what congressional Democrats are going to do, Peter.
I don't think it's
going to
be a long shutdown.
It's going to be that long of a shutdown. This is a pure guess from the Vice President of the United States.
I concur with the Vice President of the United States.
I think you already saw some evidence that moderate Democrats are cracking a little bit. They understand the fundamental illogic of this. Look, for years, every single one of us, we can remember Barack Obama on the White House lawn. We can remember Chuck Schumer. We can remember, Nancy Pelosi for years. In Chuck Schumer's case, for literally decades, we've heard them say, you don't shut the government down over a policy disagreement. Okay, Republicans think this thing about health care, that thing about health care. Democrats think this thing about immigration, Republicans disagree. Whatever those disagreements are, you don't shut down the government over it. For the first time since the Democrats have been in politics, they're now saying that unless we get every policy item that we demand, we're going to shut down the people's government. They're trying to take a hostage, and we're not going to let them.
Is that the first time?
The administration announced today that $18 billion bound for New York transportation projects is going to be frozen so it can't go to DEI programs there. But the timing of this, does announcing that today mean that you guys are going to squeeze Chuck Schumer's home state until he blinks?
Look, I haven't talked to Russ about this morning, but look, I'm sure
sounds
that
good
Russ
to me.
is heartbroken about the fact that he's unable to give certain things to certain constituencies. We want to do everything that we can to help the American people, but when the Democrats shut down the government, we have to actually do a little triage to make sure the most critical and most essential services are provided. The government does a lot of things. Of course, Republicans think that the federal government probably does too much, but there are a lot of critical things the federal government does that absolutely all of us would agree need to do. Our troops need to get paid.
That is true.
Our air traffic controllers need to make sure that people are flying safely and on time.
Yes.
We need low-income people to be able to access the food services that are provided by the federal government. There are critical things that need to be saved. We're going to do everything that we can over the coming weeks, if the shutdown lasts that long, to ensure that people get the essential services that they need, despite the fact that Chuck Schumer has shut down the federal government. It's not going to be perfect because we are in a government shutdown. We are going to have to lay some people off if the shutdown continues. We don't like that. We don't necessarily want to do it, but we're going to do what we have to keep the American people's essential services continuing to run. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President, and thank you for being here. Yesterday, President Trump said, as a result of the shutdown, we'll be laying off a lot of people that are going to be very affected, and the Democrats, they are going to be Democrats. Has the administration asked agencies to target federal workers who they believe to be Democrats in these reductions of forces?
We're not targeting federal agencies based on politics. We're targeting the people's government so that as much of possible of the essential services can continue to function. That is the question the president has
Democrats
asked
are non-essential.
The entire government is fundamentally, okay, we're in a shutdown. That causes some problems. The troops aren't getting paid. There's nothing that we can do about that while the government is shut down. But there are essential services that we want to make sure as much as possible they still continue to function. That is the principle that's driving us forward during this shutdown. It's going to continue to be the principle that drives us forward. But let's be honest, if this thing drags on for another few days or God forbid another few weeks, we are going to have to lay people off. We're going to have to save money in some places so the essential services don't get turned off in other places. That is the reality of the government shutdown that Chuck Schumer and the Democrats have foisted upon the administration.
Oh, foisted. Good use of the word foisted.
He said they're going to be Democrats.
You've laid out a lot of the pain and problems that would come with a Democratic shutdown, and yet in the Oval Office yesterday, the president said that a lot of good could come from a shutdown. So square that circle. Which is
square that circle? Did he just say square that circle?
Republican opportunity for reform.
Please don't ever say square that circle.
I think all the president is saying, Phil,
again.
is that he wants to make sure the American people's government functions as well as it can, despite the fact that we're in a shutdown. We're going to have to make things work. And that means that we're going to have to triage some certain things. That means certain people are going to have to get laid off. And we're going to try to make sure that the American people suffer as little as possible from this shutdown. That's what the president is saying, is that, yes, this is a bad thing. Obviously, the president is trying to reopen the government, but we're going to make things work as well as we possibly can, given the constraints that we have.
And then on those policy differences for the discussion and the negotiations to come later, during the Biden administration, Democrats twice voted to expand these Affordable Care Act tax credits. But those were supposed to be temporary, and they were slated to expire at the end of the year. As you sort of crack the door open to negotiation at a later date, would the party that ran on defunding Obamacare really negotiate about potentially expanding Obamacare?
Well, Phil, what we've said to the Democrats is that we're willing to have a conversation about how to ensure that Americans continue to have access to health care, and frankly, they should have access to better health care at a lower cost. We inherited a mess of a health care system from the Biden administration. It's why the president has worked so hard on the most favored nation status for prescription drugs. It's why we care so much about lowering the cost of prescriptions and why we're doing everything else. We're willing to have that conversation, but I think it's important to bracket the health care policy conversation because it's separate from the government shutdown. We think that we can open the government and then have the conversation about what best healthcare policy to fit the needs of the American people. That's all we're trying to do. That's all we're trying to accomplish. We've got to reopen the government first. Now, Caroline, I don't know how you do this, how you actually choose people, because I don't know 90% of the names in here. Is it just who's the best dressed? Okay, I really like your shirt. Go ahead.
I really like your shirt. Go ahead, says JD Vance.
You are president of the Senate. Can you talk about what you're doing, what the administration is doing to try to get other Senate Democrats to vote to open the government?
Yeah, we're talking to a number of our colleagues, Democratic and Republican, in the Senate. I talked to a number of them last night.
It's actually not a horrible question
to them as
from
well.
the shirt lady with the nice shirt.
There really are two categories of demands that I've seen privately from congressional Democrats. I think on the one hand, those who are negotiating in good faith are saying, look, We just want to make sure that we're able to have a conversation with the administration about some of the critical needs that we see that need to get fixed over the next few months.
Correct.
We recognize it's kind of absurd, and a lot of them will admit in private that it's kind of absurd to shut down the people's government over these disagreements, but just agree to negotiate with us in good faith on these issues. And of course, we're having that conversation.
And
with
that's
them.
Democrats
Then
saying
there's
it's
another
absurd.
category, people who say, give us everything we want or we're going to keep the government shut down. We just write those people off because they're not negotiating in good faith. And frankly, we don't need them. We've already got 3 more Democrats last night than I thought we would get. And I think it's because they recognize
one
the illogic
independent,
of the
but yeah.
position of taking the entire American economy hostage because they don't get their policy priorities. So 3 moderate Democrats joined 52 Republicans last night. We need 5 more in order to reopen the government. And that's really where we're going to focus, is how to get those 5 additional Democrats.
Yeah, get those 5 additional moderate Democrats to vote with John Fetterman.
Are there plans to meet Democratic leaders again in the coming days, or are you planning on plucking off senators?
Put them in the absurd column.
So that's the whole question?
No, I got a second part.
Okay, go ahead and ask the second question.
So the president's been posting some images of Leader Jeffries and Senator Schumer.
I saw.
Recently, you've said that you're interested in good faith negotiations with these leaders, but what message does that send? Is it helpful to post pictures of Leader Jeffries in a sombrero if you're trying to have?
It sure is entertaining.
Oh, I think it's funny. The president's joking, and we're having a good time. You can negotiate in good faith while also poking a little bit of fun at some of the absurdities of the Democrats' positions, and even poking some fun at the absurdity of the Democrats themselves. I mean, I'll tell Hakeem Jeffries right now, I make this solemn promise to you that if you help us reopen the government, the sombrero memes will stop. And I've talked to the President of the United States about that. Now, to your first question, are we negotiating one-on-one? Are we negotiating in groups? Look, I will go to the U.S. Capitol right now and meet with Chuck Schumer or any Senate Democrat if it helps us reopen the government. Most of the conversations, in my experience at least, have been one-off.
Mm-hmm.
We're also, of course, relying on some of our Senate Republican colleagues who have good relationships across the aisle. We're going to do whatever we have to do is the answer. And I think it's tough to predict what shape this negotiation is going to take over the next few months. But I feel good about the fact that Democrats already realize privately the fundamental irrationality of their position. I hope that they're going to publicly acknowledge it and reopen the government.
Hakeem Jeffries, the memes will stop when you vote to open the government.
On X, and Chuck Schumer on the House floor back in 1996, railing against illegal immigrants receiving taxpayer-funded benefits. You said Chuck Schumer once recognized that it was disastrous to give illegal aliens rewards for breaking the law. Now he wants to shut down the government unless we reward illegal aliens for breaking the law. Why has Chuck Schumer changed his stance?
That's a good question. Actually, it's a very tough question. Asking me to get in the head of Chuck Schumer is not a place I particularly want to be. But
nobody wants to be there.
My basic read on it is that the entire Democratic Party, the political leadership, not every Democrat nationwide, but the political leadership of their party has got it into their heads that the only way to be compassionate is to be compassionate to illegal aliens rather than American citizens.
Also
If you go
criminals.
Back to what Bill Clinton was saying, even Barack
Don't forget
Obama
the
in some
criminals.
cases, what he was saying about illegal immigration 10, 15, 20 years ago, you would put them on the MAGA right based purely on their rhetoric around illegal immigration. So I don't know why they've gone so far to the left. I think it's bad for the country. I think it's bad for them politically. But our principle, all I can do is speak for the president that I serve and the country, the administration that I serve right now. We believe that the American people's government exists for the American people. That means the people who have the legal right to be here, and that's why we're fighting to reopen the government. And unfortunately, the Democrats are fighting to shut it down for the benefit of illegal aliens.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll take a couple more, and then I'll let Caroline.
Yeah.
I'll go back to my day job so Caroline can go back to hers. All right. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Just going back to the sombrero. You said that the president
back
was
to
joking,
the
but
sombrero.
Hakeem Jeffries says that these memes were racist. What's your response to that? And just if I may briefly go off topic, Secretary Hegseth yesterday made an edict about no more beardos in the military. Just wondered what.
Sorry, what did he say?
No more beardos.
Beard.
Beards. Oh, sorry, it's my accent. Just wondered your response.
No more beardos.
I didn't see that particular comment. I thought Pete gave a hell of a speech, and a speech that really is just oriented around returning the American military to the
No
very
more
high standards
beardos.
it has had for virtually its entire history. until Joe Biden came along and decided to lower standards. I think it was bad for our military and it was bad for our troops. When I was a young United States Marine, I did not have a beard. I am now the vice president, so I get to do what I want to do. But I think Pete's trying to re-implement high standards, and that's a very good thing. On the sombrero thing, I mean, Hakeem Jeffries said it was racist, and I know that he said that, and I honestly don't even know what that means. Like, is he a Mexican American that is offended by having a sombrero meme? I mean, I saw one of the major TV stations put the meme up and then say, this is AI generated. And he had like the curly animated mustache too. It's like, do the American people, do you really not realize the American people recognize that he did not actually come to the White House wearing a sombrero and a black curly animation mustache? Like, give the country a little bit of credit. We're all trying to do a very important job for the American people. The President of the United States likes to have a little bit of fun when he's doing it, and I think that's okay. I'll take one
sombrero meme incoming in 5, 4, 3,
workers have been furloughed,
2,
not laid off.
1.
So why does the president want to fire some workers and not just furlough them? Why is this shutdown any different?
Well, first of all, we haven't made any final decisions about what we're going to do with certain workers.
We haven't fired anybody yet. Well, we will.
That we might have to take extraordinary steps, especially the longer this goes on. We're going to have to take extraordinary measures to ensure the people's government operates, again, not perfectly, because it's not going to operate perfectly in the midst of a shutdown, but operate as well as it possibly can. And I think that the Democrats, if they're so worried about the effect this is having on the American people, and they should be, what they should do is reopen the government, not complain about how we respond to the fact that Chuck Schumer and the Democrats have shut down the government in the first place. Thank you all. Caroline.
Thank you so much.
See you guys.
Yay, Vice President J.D. Vance.
Let the
Very
fun
nicely done. Look at
continue.
that. That was very
Vice
exciting.
President's a very busy man, and
That was
I'm
very
happy to
exciting.
take some more questions.
By the way,
I
I texted Matt Boyle. He asked the first question. I texted him. I said, "Great job." And as soon as I hit send, I heard a ding on the press conference. So that may have been my text message that we heard during the press conference. Right after Matt Boyle.
Look, I think the Vice President
this
just
question.
referred to this in some of the answers that he gave regarding the layoffs. There are unfortunate consequences to a government shutdown.
Yeah.
And the federal government is not receiving any cash at the moment. And so the Office of Management and Budget has been tasked with looking over the receipts and looking over the budget of the entire federal bureaucracy.
Mhm.
And as the Vice President said, determining what needs to continue to go out the door and what can we continue to keep running and what unfortunately is going to have to come to an end. So those decisions are being made. And unfortunately, layoffs are very likely, as the Vice President just said, going to be a part of that.
Yeah, layoffs. They're coming.
Response from Hamas from the peace proposal that was laid out. You know, the president said he would give 3 or 4 days, but is there a hard deadline now, or what are the next steps here?
I will reiterate what the President of the United States said, 3 or 4 days, and I can tell you that there are some very sensitive discussions that are taking place, but I certainly don't want to get ahead of any announcement at this podium. I'm going to let Special Envoy Witkoff and the President of the United States handle that.
Very good.
Thank you, Caroline. 2 questions. First of all, following up on that, the President said yesterday, I believe, within 3 or 4 days, he wanted to hear an answer from Hamas. Is he still sticking by that timeline?
That was literally the question that she
second
just
question
asked.
is a comment that's gotten a lot of global attention. Senator Dick Durbin, he was set to receive a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Catholic Church. He's since declined accepting it because there has been some controversy. Pope Leo commented on this, and he said that someone who says I'm against abortion, but I'm in agreement with the inhumane treatment of immigrants in the United States, I don't know if that's pro-life. You've been very open about your Catholic faith. How do you respond to that?
I would reject there is inhumane treatment of illegal immigrants in the
Right.
United States under this administration. There was, however, significant inhumane treatment of illegal immigrants in the previous administration as they were being trafficked and raped and beaten, and in many cases killed over our United States southern border. You also look at the inhumane treatment at the hands of some of these illegal immigrants that took place under the previous administration as well. Laken Riley comes to mind, a beautiful American citizen who was killed at the hands of an illegal immigrant. So this administration is trying to enforce our nation's laws in the most humane way possible, and we're upholding the law, and we're doing that on behalf of the people of our country who live here.
Good answer.
Thanks a lot, Caroline.
Good answer. That's a great
What is
answer.
the level of concern that the administration has regarding a protracted government shutdown in terms of its impact on the U.S. economy and also its impact on small businesses as well?
Well, look, this government shutdown is no doubt going to impact everyday Americans. And it is the fault of the Democrats that we are in this position. And I know I relayed some programs that will be impacted. The vice president did as well. But I just want to make sure the American public understand what the Democrats have done to our government and our country. 1.3 million active duty troops will work now without pay. Critical food assistance for low-income women, infants, and children will now lapse. No new mothers or children are allowed to join this critical program because of the Democrats' decision to shut down the government. Telehealth services for seniors and in-home treatment options for Medicare patients will now come to an end. Nearly 50,000 members of the United States Coast Guard are going to have to work unpaid. Over 13,000 air traffic controllers will work without pay, as well as TSA agents, which will very likely create flight disruptions. And pay will now stop for over 150,000 federal law enforcement officers. These are not just numbers and statistics. These are real Americans who have families at home. And I saw some Democrat members today saying they're still going to accept their paychecks because they have 3 kids at home and they have mouths to feed. Well, so do these federal workers who those same Democrats just voted to shut down the government and turn off their pay. And we believe that's very unfair, and it's why the administration wants to see the government reopened.
GDP growth fell by about 0.5 percentage point during the last government shutdown during the president's first term. Are you expecting a similar type of impact on GDP growth related to this potential protracted government shutdown?
Well, look, I think it's dependent upon how long this shutdown continues. So it's dependent on how long it takes Democrats to muster up the coverage, 5 of them to vote in the best interest of our country, our citizens.
Yeah, we just need 5. 5 Democrats. Sounds like a lot, though.
Yesterday, your administration took a 5% stake in Lithium Americas and a stake in the mine that they're working on, and you've taken stakes in other companies.
It seems like she may have a little bit of a cold or something because she's coughing a lot and she's drinking some kind of tea product. This question also kind of bores me, so we're gonna come back to it in just a minute. But there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of underlying stuff going on here. First of all, JD Vance is a rock star. That dude is ready to be president at any time. Hopefully it won't be till 2028, but he's ready to jump in at any time. And he will be the 48th president of the United States of America because the left has absolutely nobody waiting in the wings that could challenge and even, overtake him in an election.
And there's billions of dollars coming in.
But what we're starting to see now is his role in the negotiations and his role as the mouthpiece of the White House. He has commanded such respect ever since taking office that he's literally the stand-in for the president. When the president can't be there, JD Vance is there, and he answers questions, and he has witty retorts, and he understands what the president does and means and says. He understands the law inside and out. He knows how government works. He was a senator at one point, and he can handle the press.
The Supreme
It's great.
Court said today that she's going to be allowed to stay at the Federal Reserve Board until oral arguments in January. Does the president have any personal reaction to that? This has been something he's been very intent on.
Look, we have respect for the Supreme Court, but they're going to hear the actual case and make a determination on the legal argument in January. And we look forward to that because we maintain that she was fired well within the president's legal authority to do so. She was removed from the board, and we look forward to that case being fully played out at the Supreme Court. Reagan.
I have one for you on E.J. Antoni and one on the shutdown.
Sure.
CNN reported that Collins and Murkowski declined to meet with E.J. Antoni, raising concerns that his nomination was in trouble.
Collins and Murkowski declined to do something? What is it?
Collins and Murkowski are sent into the White House by not meeting with one of the president's nominees.
Well, look, E.J. Antoni remains a great ally of the
E.J.
president and our team. It became clear, unfortunately, that he was not going to have the votes, and so we will be announcing a replacement nominee very soon.
And on the shutdown, I'm just wondering how soon you could see cuts to the federal workplace, and if there's a specific agency that will experience the most cuts or be focused.
Unfortunately, because the Democrats shut down the government, the president has directed his cabinet, and the Office of Management and Budget is working with agencies across the board to identify where cuts can be made, and we believe that layoffs are imminent. They are, unfortunately, a consequence of this government shutdown.
The Schumer layoffs. The liberal layoffs.
Is there a
the left-wing lunatic layoffs.
The White House is looking for of workforce?
I don't have a specific percentage for you.
What about China, if I could? So China has not made one soybean purchase this year in the United States. I talked to a farmer
soybeans.
Yesterday.
I do want to get to this letter. I do want to get to this because this is very important about the role of Congress and them getting paid. Because Congress still gets paid. Congress is getting paid, and they are. Hold on, what is this?
Look, I don't want to speak for the president and make a determination on that from this podium, but what I can tell you is that supporting America's farmers and doing what's best for them is at the top of the president's priority list, and it's at the top of the list for this administration right now. There have been several very high-level meetings on this very topic. We want to help our farmers, and we're exploring the best ways to do that, and I would anticipate there will be more to come on that very soon.
Send a message to the Chinese president.
Look, I just shared that message. The president wants what's best for
They never,
America's
ever listen.
farmers.
These people never listen.
Hi.
Two things to ask you about.
Sure.
First thing, I want to ask about this video that the president posted the other day. It was an AI deepfake of himself talking about something called med beds. What was he trying to communicate to the public there, and why did he delete it?
I think the president saw the video and posted it, and then took it down. And he has the right to do that. It's his social media. He's incredibly transparent, as you all know. You hear from him directly on social media. He likes to share memes. He likes to share videos. He likes to repost things that he sees other people post on social media as well. And I think it's quite refreshing that we have a president who is so open and honest, directly himself, many a times on Truth. You are hearing directly from the President of the United States.
And second thing, how did the White House decide that it is appropriate for Jared Kushner to be working on matters that involve Qatar, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, 3 countries that combined have given him more than $2.5 billion for his investment firm?
I think it's frankly despicable that you're trying to suggest that it's inappropriate for Jared Kushner, who is widely respected around the world and has great trust and relationships with these critical partners in these countries, to strike a 20-point comprehensive detailed peace plan that no other administration would ever be able to achieve. And so Jared is donating his energy and his time to our government, to the President of the United States, to secure world peace. And that is a very noble thing. And this is a peace plan that has not just been accepted by Israel, but it has been applauded by Muslim and Arab countries around the world. It has been applauded by European leaders around the world. Virtually everyone in the world is supportive of this plan that Jared Kushner offered his time to help put together alongside our Special Envoy Witkoff, the Vice President, the President of the United States, Secretary Rubio, and the President's entire national security team. We are very proud of that plan, and we hope Hamas will accept it because it will lead to a more peaceful and prosperous Middle East.
Yeah, so stick it, loser. What a despicable question that is to say, why would Jared Kushner be? I mean, he's got all these relationships. Why would we want him to go use those relationships to bring peace to the Middle East so that people don't die anymore?
Mass layoffs. Can you tell us
what a despicable guy that is?
Agencies, what programs, what jobs?
What he's referring to is a proposal that our Office of Management and Budget Director, Russ Vought, is going to be proposing to the House Republican Conference. He's going to kind of walk them through what this unfortunately is going to look like so they can discuss it with their constituents back home in their respective districts. So I don't want to get ahead of the Office of Management and Budget, but I'm sure you'll be hearing more about that very soon. Look, we have to put a plan in place. It would be irresponsible of us not to take a look at each and every agency and get an understanding of what we're going to have to do moving forward to do the best we can in the midst of this government shutdown.
Thanks, Caroline. Just on that point, though, Russ Vought told House members, according to our notice reporting, that RIFs would happen in 2 days. Already, we know that some have been sitting out from the U.S. Patent Office. So I wonder, one, this administration continues to say that they don't want to lay people off, but obviously there is a plan to lay people off. So what is your message to those people who are getting laid off? And then if the government reopens, will those RIFs reverse? Are they not permanent if the government reopens, specifically if they reopen?
No, they're permanent.
Well, sometimes
they're
you have
irrevocable.
to do things you don't want to do, and it's because the Democrats have put us into this position.
Yeah.
If the Democrats did not vote to shut down the government, we would not be standing up here talking about layoffs today.
Correct.
We'd be talking about all the other news stories going on in the world in our country. We'd be talking about all of the great things that this administration is doing to uplift Americans across the country.
Truth.
But unfortunately, the Vice President of the United States and I have to come out here today to talk about a government shutdown that the Democrats put us in this position.
Yeah.
And a second question. Go ahead, Joey.
Thanks, Caroline. I'm just trying to clarify the timing of these potential layoffs to federal workers. You said imminent. The Vice President seemed to say in a couple of days. It looks like Russ Vought maybe said in 2 days. When would these layoffs begin?
2 days, imminent, very soon. You will expect more.
I mean, what do you want? You want an exact time? You want us to set an alarm for you?
It's not unclear. All of those things are very synonymous with one another.
Yeah.
These rifts are unfortunately going to happen very soon.
It'll definitely
Very soon, imminent, 2 days. When is it, Caroline?
The American Affordable Care
Forthwith?
Act, enhanced premium tax credits.
They'll be happening
and
forthwith.
The politics of it all, right? But this is a very real, tangible impact that American people will feel. The Kaiser Family Foundation says that with the ACA enhanced premium tax credits, without them, premiums will go up 114% on average. 19 million of the 24 million people who rely on the coverage are in states that President Trump won. Is he concerned what will happen to those families if this tax credit expires? And aside from the shutdown, is there a plan to keep those
They're not going to negotiate the tax.
As the Vice President
They're not going to negotiate until the government's back open.
The President and the Vice President and this
It's the
team are
same
more than
question
happy
over
to have
and
that
over again with
conversation
these people.
with Republicans and Democrats on Capitol Hill. But it cannot happen right now. Right now, we need to reopen the United States federal government.
That's right.
Because
And then
people
we'll have
are
the
going
convo.
without pay. You have thousands of federal workers who have to show up to work and not get paid, and that's an unfortunate situation the Democrats have put us in. Then we can discuss this very important issue of healthcare that the president absolutely wants to fix. As I mentioned yesterday, he took. But those premiums do not expire until the end of the year. It's October 1st right now. And so we have a few months to have that conversation. And it's irresponsible of the Democrat Party to try to convince the American people that that conversation has to happen right now. No,
Right.
what needs to happen right now is
Is
the
the government
reopening
needs to
of
be
the United
reopened.
States federal government. And then this administration will be happy to work with Democrats in good faith to come to a policy
done.
determination. But one red line the government has already made clear, this administration has already made clear, this administration is never going to support taxpayer-funded benefits going to illegal aliens. And we think it's despicable that that was one of the first proposals that Democrats put in their funding proposal, in their CR. The Republican CR was a clean CR that would keep the government open. Democrats have voted for it 13 times in the past. The Democrats put this poison pill in there, this partisan pill.
poison pill.
Why? Because they are
Partisan pill.
beholden to the far left radicals in their party. And you already see 3 moderate Democrats having the courage to say, no, we need to keep the government open, and then we can have these conversations about health care. Mary.
Oh, I thought she was done. She's got another
The
question.
Vice President said about Ocasio-Cortez. I'm actually surprised it didn't come up sooner. So if Schumer is catering to the demands of Ocasio-Cortez, can you share whether the White House views this as cracks in Schumer's leadership? And would the Vice President be open to meeting with someone like her if she is assuming this role in the Democratic Party?
I'll let the Vice President speak on that himself. I think that certainly Senator Schumer was not expecting 3 moderates to break with him last night. In fact, last night you heard Senator Schumer say he can't guarantee that he will be able to hold his caucus together. And so again,
He can't hold
we
his
encourage
caucus.
Democrats to have the courage to do the right
an old
thing.
man problem.
Do what you have done 13 times previously and vote for this clean continuing resolution to keep the government funded. As for what the Trump administration and President Trump is going to do, we'll continue to be very public that
Yeah.
we want the government to be open. And
Yeah.
as the Vice President said, we'll continue to work in good faith with anyone on Capitol Hill who wants to do right by the American people. Thank you all so much.
Thank you
See
so
later.
much. Yay. Great job, Caroline Levitt. Great job, JD Vance. Excellent. I give it a 10 out of 10. I give it a 10 out of 10. It can confirm. It's a must-see press conference or press briefing. Luckily, well, we saw it because we were all right here. JD Vance coming out in presidential fashion to whip those reporters into a frenzy. Again, if you missed it, I'm like 100% sure. I'm 100% sure that after Matt Boyle asked his question and I sent that text message, my text message made his phone ding and the microphones picked it up while JD Vance was speaking. So that's kind of cool. Also, JD Vance saying, look, it's a joke. These Hakeem Jeffries things, you got to calm down, people.
It's a disgusting video, and we're going to continue to make clear bigotry will get you nowhere. We are fighting to protect the health care of the American people in the face of an unprecedented Republican assault.
Yeah, that's not all what's happening, but he did assure Hakeem Jeffries that the memes will cease as soon as the government is reopened. The memes will end. There will be no more Mexican hat dance memes of Hakeem Jeffries wearing a sombrero on his great big cabeza as soon as the government is reopened. So that's another reason to keep the government closed because I'm really digging the memes. But there, there's a lot of stuff going on and there's a lot of posturing. And if you look at it, if you think about it really, the only person The only person that's really losing big, I mean, other than American workers who are getting furloughed and fired, other than that, in the political scheme of things, in this governmental body that we have created for ourselves, Chuck Schumer's getting just railroaded and ramrodded he's just getting pimp slapped every time he turns around. He should probably just go back to bed and ignore everybody for a couple of weeks because this dude is a big fat loser. He literally had the vice president of the United States of America. Think about this. The second most powerful man in the world, the vice president of the United States of America, the second in command of the Republican Party, walked into the White House press briefing, stood in front of the microphone, looked at the entire media landscape and said, Chuck Schumer is no longer in control of the Democrat Party. AOC is. And because AOC wants his job, and because AOC is putting pressure on him, and because AOC says, you know what? I should be senator. I should be majority leader. Chuck Schumer's damaged goods. We got to get him out of here. Because of what Chuck Schumer did back in March, he's now politically vulnerable, which means he's not really in charge. He's not calling the shots. The left-wing lunatic fringe of the Democrat Party is, and the left-wing lunatic fringe of the Democrat Party is run by AOC. Everybody knows it, including the vice president of the United States. And that's why Chuck Schumer is on the floor of the House of Representatives calling the New York Times biased. That's why he's pretending his microphone or his earpiece doesn't work when he's doing CNN interviews.
Every Republican who's gone on TV the last 12 hours or so has called this the Schumer shutdown. What do you say about that name? Senator Schumer, can you hear me?
I can't hear.
Senator Schumer, can you hear me? I don't think Senator Schumer can hear me right now. Maybe the government shutdown included audio on Capitol Hill.
I mean, I hate that guy because he's such a liberal, but that was a great little quip. Look, there's the reason why Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has been going around Manhattan with Zohran Mamdani is not because she wants him to be mayor. I mean, she does, but she shouldn't care about that. It's because it's free campaign coverage for her. She's going to be running against Chuck Schumer. She's going to be running for the Senate. She's done with the small potatoes House of Representatives. She can't answer to Hakeem Jeffries. That dude's ridiculous. The president's making memes of him in a sombrero with a Pancho Villa mustache. Nobody respects that guy. That's why Hakeem Jeffries isn't mad because he thinks the meme is racist. He's mad because nobody's taking him seriously. And when the president of the United States puts a meme out where you're dressed up like one of the three amigos, and Chuck Schumer's lying and screaming or yelling and screaming about how no one trusts the Democrats anymore, you've lost all respect, not just of your party, but of pretty much the entire government. Hakeem Jeffries is done. He can't control anybody. He has no power. Chuck Schumer is done. All of them are puppets being played by the left-wing lunatic fringe of the party, which is led by AOC. J.D. Vance knows it. Donald Trump knows it. Caroline Levin knows it. Everybody knows it. And that's why AOC is inviting Republicans into her office to negotiate. That's why she's saying, look, if you want, you can, my door's open.
And I saw some Republican members of Congress saying, oh, well, if we have this shutdown, it's because of AOC. Well, if that's the case, my office is open and you are free to walk in and negotiate with me directly. Because what I'm not going to do is tolerate 4 million uninsured Americans because Donald Trump decided one day that he wants to just make sure that kids are dying because they don't have access to insurance.
He wants to make sure kids are dying because they don't have access to insurance? Donald Trump wants to make sure kids are dying because they don't have access to insurance. That's the lead negotiator for the Democrat Party. I mean, it's bad enough that you've got Hakeem Jeffries walking into the Oval Office saying we want $1.5 trillion for the next 7 weeks so that we can continue to provide health care for illegal aliens. Now you've got the behind the scenes, the backstage leader, the Wizard of Oz, the man behind the curtain or the woman behind the curtain, AOC saying Donald Trump wants to make sure that kids are dying of cancer because they can't get their health insurance coverage. This is the same Donald Trump, by the way, who just got Pfizer to lower their costs by 50% and who also, is using AI to cure cancer as well. The Democrats, I believe, are about to speak, which I may actually want to watch. Hang on, let me see if I can pull this up Let me see where they're going to. It looks like the Democrats are going to be holding their own little press conference at the House of Representatives. And so let me see if I can pull this up real quick, because I think this could be interesting.
Because he's terrified of a primary challenge.
I think
so.
I'd
invite Chuck Schumer to join the moderate Democrats
Hang on.
and 52 Senate Republicans, do the right thing, open up the people's government, and then let's fix healthcare policy for the American.
Okay, here we go. Oh, watch live. Here we go. Let me pull this up real quick because I'm curious what the Democrats are going to say about what J.D. Vance just said.
From any of the legislative leaders on the Republican side. And the president has been engaging in irresponsible and unserious behavior.
Unserious.
Demonstrating that all along, Republicans wanted to shut the government down. That's no surprise, because for decades, Republicans have consistently shut the government down as part of their efforts to try to extract and jam their extreme right-wing agenda down the throats of the American people. Democrats have repeatedly made clear we are ready to sit down with anyone at any time and at any place in order now to reopen the government, to enact a spending agreement that meets the needs of the American people, and to address the devastating Republican healthcare crisis that has caused extraordinary harm on people all across the country. Millions of Americans in rural America
I'm gonna switch.
Dramatically increased premium, co-pays, and deductibles because of the Republican unwillingness to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits. Hospitals, nursing homes, and community-based health clinics are closing all across the country.
I'm still getting the same chewing and the typing in the background.
Rural America, because of what Republicans have done.
Can somebody fix the audio feed?
The healthcare crisis they have triggered through their cruel actions throughout this year.
We're not actually getting audio from the microphone.
Have even canceled medical research in the United States of America, even as it relates to children who are battling.
Oh my God, we're getting audio from someone else's microphone who's sniffling and typing. And it's immoral, and we're not getting audio actually from Hakeem Jeffries.
And it's Democrats are fighting hard.
It's the House audio because it's on every channel.
Lower the costs, save health care on behalf of the American people. It's now my honor to yield to the whip, Catherine Clark.
Oh my God,
Thank you, Mr. Leader. We are so grateful for all that you have done and putting the American people's voice into this debate.
This is so obnoxious.
And I've had one question from my Republican House colleagues.
Yeah, nobody cares. All right, we're done. Sorry, I just, you know what? I can't even pretend to care. I just can't even pretend to care about these people and what they're doing and what they're saying because they don't care about the American people. You know who does care about the American people? Some Republicans, not all. I do want to share with you a couple of things that happened since the shutdown. Kat Cammack, our good friend from the 3rd District of Florida, she sent a letter to Catherine Spindor, who is the Chief Administration Officer of the House of Representatives, and she wrote, "Dear Mrs. Spindor, I think her name is. Government funding expires at midnight tonight unless Congress approves additional appropriations. It's my understanding that, despite a lapse in appropriations and a government shutdown, members of Congress will continue to receive their salaries as a matter of constitutionality. With that in mind, I respectfully request that you withhold my net pay until an appropriations agreement is reached and has taken effect. If our military isn't being paid, neither should members of Congress. For the Republic, Kat Cammack, member of Congress, proudly serving Florida's 3rd Congressional District." So Kat Cammack rolls in with a letter saying, look, if you're not paying the military, don't pay me. If you're not paying the military, I'm not taking a salary. The other 434 members of Congress, we haven't yet heard from. That's not true. We actually heard from Representative Ralph Norman. Ralph Norman is introducing an amendment again, or an amendment to end member pay during shutdowns with no back pay either. This is something that is very interesting to me as the future congressman for Florida's 5th District. He's proposing an amendment to the Constitution of the United States to prohibit members of Congress from receiving compensation for any period during which a government shutdown is in effect. Resolved by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled that the following article is proposed as an amendment to the Constitution of the United States, which shall be valid to all intents and purposes as part of the Constitution when ratified by the legislatures of 3/4 of the several states, and so on and so forth. Bada bing, bada boom. A representative or senator may not receive compensation with respect to any period during which a government shutdown is in effect. For purposes of this article, a government shutdown shall be considered to be in effect if there is a lapse in appropriations for any federal agency or department as a result of a failure to enact a regular appropriations bill or continuing resolution. Congress shall have the power to enforce this article through appropriate legislation. So there you got two representatives that are trying to do something. Ralph Norman saying we should make an amendment to the Constitution saying that Congress people don't get paid if there's a government shutdown. And then you've got Kat Cammack, who is just, taking it upon herself to withhold her own pay, because if the military is not getting paid, why are the men and women of the United States House of Representatives? I looked then to my own representative, John Rutherford, and I was excited to read his letter withholding his pay because, that guy's a bazillionaire. John Rutherford went to Congress with like $100 in his pocket, and now just 10 years later, he has over $5 million in net worth. Could be the 152 illegal stock trades he made that just mysteriously were thrown out of his ethics investigation. I don't know. So I went to his X feed to try to find a similar letter, and wouldn't you know it, there is not one. There's a lot of canned words. There's a lot of stuff that sounds like it was written by ChatGPT. There's a lot of just boilerplate, platitudes, but there's nothing that says I, John Rutherford, am writing to, what's her name? Mrs. Spinzor, and requesting that my pay be withheld during the, if the military, because look, he's all into the military. Look at this. He just posted, or someone from his office posted, a photo of him with some Florida veterans, and it says, "We owe so much to the men and women who have served our great nation. The National Veterans of Foreign Wars Day, this National Veterans of Foreign Wars Day, may we remember and honor those who sacrificed so much to keep the air we breathe free." Okay, great sentiment. I love that. Well, what about the fighting men and women who are fighting right now, who yesterday found out from the Secretary of War Hegseth that they're going to have very strenuous physical requirements in order to remain in military service? What about them? They're not getting paid. Do you stand with them? Would you reduce your salary like Representative Kat Cammack has done? If so, I'd like to see your letter to Mrs. Spindor. There is no such letter to Mrs. Spindor anywhere on Representative John Rutherford's website, FYI. So I don't believe that he's withholding his pay. I believe that John Rutherford voted for this thing, 10, 20 days ago, and he said, I did my job. Said, where's my paycheck? I did my job. Where are my benefits? I did my job. Don't withhold my pay. It sucks that the Democrats in the Senate are shutting down the government, but hey, that's not my problem. Constitutionally, I deserve to get my compensation package. And even though I have millions of dollars that I made based on the information, the insider information I have as a member of the Appropriations Committee, even though I bet on military stocks when I knew Ukraine was about to be invaded, even though I've made more than enough money for any one man my age to live out the rest of his days in the lap of luxury, I still want my weekly paycheck from the U.S. House of Representatives shut down, schmut down. That's what Representative John Rutherford said. And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for a change in Florida's 5th District, because I'm with Kat. I'm with Kat Cammack. I'm with Ralph Norman. I say if the government is shut down, then all of the government should be shut down. If the government is shut down, then Congress should not be paid. If the government is shut down, the people responsible for it should also suffer, because if they're not suffering, well, there's really no reason for them to open the government back up. What, they think that the threat of getting voted out of office the next time there's an election is bad enough? No, people forget that kind of stuff. The next election's like a year away. People are going to be over it. They're going to be getting their paychecks again. They'll make sure there's no government shutdown around Election Day. But right now, they can use that. If you stopped paying Chuck Schumer, if you stopped paying Hakeem Jeffries, if you stopped paying AOC, well, it wouldn't matter, because guess what? They're all filthy rich too. I wonder how that happened. If you would like to help, by the way, me get to Congress so that I can not accept pay if there's a government shutdown, or better yet, just keep the government from ever getting shut down again, then please make your way to markkforcongress.com, markkforcongress.com. You can see everything that's going on. You can check out some of our upcoming events that we have. We're going to be at Pussers, by the way, in Orange Park, Florida. We're going to be at Pussers in Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida, coming up here in just a little while on October 23rd. We're doing another live rally. You can come and get your Mark K for Congress sign. You can come and get your Mark K for Congress merch. You can come and meet Mark K and ask me why I'm for Congress and all that kind of great stuff. Plus, there's fantastic food and drinks at Pussers. That's Pussers Bar and Grill, Ponte Vedra Beach, October 23rd. 6 to 8 p.m. We're also going to be at Megyn Kelly Live. Megyn Kelly's coming to the Moran Theater, and guess what? I'll be there too. If you have plans to make it to Megyn Kelly, come by. I'll have some free swag for you. We're going to be speaking to the Clay County Young Republicans Club. We've got a whole bunch. We got a whole mess of events too that are popping up before too long. So go to markkforcongress.com. Check out the platform. Check out everything you can. Make whatever donation you can, because with your help, I can go to Congress and make sure that these kinds of shenanigans stop. I can do my part. I can represent North Florida in a way that North Florida wants to be represented. And if there's ever a shutdown, dadgummit, I will be the first. Actually, probably Kat Kamek. Well, she's pretty good at that. I will be the second. I'll be like, hey, Kat, when you're done, let me borrow your pen so I can sign my letter withholding my pay, because members of Congress should not be paid if the fighting men and women of our military are not either. And that's something that that's something I believe. That's something I stand with Kat for. And that's something that, guess what? John Rutherford doesn't seem to give a diddly squat about. markkforcongress.com. Whatever you can donate would be greatly appreciated. If you can't donate, just keep listening to this podcast, because by listening to this podcast and downloading this podcast and by sharing this podcast, you also do us a great service. Anytime you tune in and listen online or watch us on YouTube or subscribe on Rumble, wherever you are right now, if you've made it this long through the show, through the broadcast, then you've helped in some way, shape, or form. You've helped us with our goal, with our mission. You've helped keep us going. You've helped support Mark K Saves the Republic and all the K. It's not just me. It's K-Triots all over the globe. Yeah, I'm the one that comes in here. I'm the one at K-Triot HQ. I get it. I'm the one in Mar-a-Lago broadcasting from illustrious downtown Jacksonville every single day. But it's the K-Triots across the globe, just like you, that keep us going. It's the K-Triots across the globe that tune in for entertainment and information and enlightenment. It's the K-Triots around the globe who give us we got a Rumble rant earlier today. I don't know if I even have it. We got a Rumble rant earlier today for $20 from, here it is. Look at this. $20. A K-Triot named R. Lewis 937 wrote, "Thanks for being a strong voice for us. You will be a great voice in Congress." That's Rick in Ohio. And Rick in Ohio sent us that. And this is what we're talking about. It's the K-Triots that keep Mark K Saves the Republic going, not just Mark K. And it's the K-Triots that are going to keep this republic going, not just me. It's all of us, every single day, working together, learning together, fighting together, standing up for what's right together, standing up against what's wrong together, making sure that these Democrats can't get away with anything, making sure that there are more of us than there are of them, and making sure when it comes down to it, when the votes are tallied, that we show up and we fight so that we can save the Republic.